Okay, let's take a look at the Viltrox 56mm f1.7 lens. This is the Nikon Z mount. But first, if you've never been to my website, it's just photos. There's no advertising, nothing to purchase. It's just photo galleries. And on the main page, if you scroll down, this is basically my favorites gallery presented here directly on the main page. But you see there's lots and lots of photos and different types of subjects. So if you're interested in that, also have vacations and short trips. So this is where you'll see a lot of the trips I've been on. So if you just browse around in there and click on the different galleries, sections, and individual galleries. But probably why you're here is because of the lens. So if you click at the camera gear gallery, of course I'm going to have a direct link to this anyway, this gallery for the lens. But cameras, I've used a lot of different cameras here. Currently the Nikon Z8 and the Nikon ZF is what I'm using. Very happy with both of those. Although I still have a soft spot in my heart for the Micro Four Thirds camera. I would really love to have a Panasonic G7 I believe it is. Or GH, not G7. It was a GH7. I believe it's the GH7. I lost track of how many GH cameras they have. I believe it's the 7. But anyway, I would really love to have one of those with a couple nice lenses. But anyway, let's get down to this lens. So it's right here. Viltrox 50mm f1.7. Again, this is the Nikon Z mount. This comes in a Sony E mount and the Fuji X mount, I believe. I believe that's just those three mounts that they have right now. And this is made for an APS-C camera body, you know, the image sensor APS-C size, which is a 1.5 times crop from a full frame image sensor or camera body. So I'm using this on the Nikon Z8, and that's a full frame camera, so it's going to crop down 1.5 times. So it's basically like a 50 or 84 millimeter lens, so 56 times 1.5. You know, it looks like an 84 millimeter lens on the Nikon Z8. So it's going to shoot in the cropped mode, and I'll get about 20 megapixels of resolution, you know, because of that crop. If you're using this on a Nikon Z50 or something like that, ZFC, you know, there's not going to be a crop because it's a crop lens, and you just get the native resolution of whatever is on those cameras, which I think is also around close to 21 megapixels. So anyway, if you look here, there's in this gallery, there's a link to another video I did here on YouTube, focus test and during video, and it actually did really good. You know, the transition's really nice, and you need a camera that focuses really well. Obviously, Nikon Z8 does, so that worked out really well. The face and eye tracking works great. This lens is only $180 US dollars, and I saw some earlier reviews for this lens, and I could have swore they said it was $140. So I don't know if there's been a price increase. It's not a really you know, the lens hasn't been out for a while. I mean, it's not just a very recent release. I think it's been out several months. But so I'm not sure if the 180 is a price increase for some reason. But still, that's really cheap compared to native lenses or even some of the Sigma lenses that are available. Sigma has a 56 1.4, which I've used on. I use that on a Fuji camera, and a great lens, works really well. But I was really surprised by this Viltrox lens being only $180. So let's start looking at some of these. You know, just look at here it is on the Z8, and again, this is an APS-C lens. You get a camera pouch or a little lens pouch here with it. Of course, a front and rear lens cap, and the lens hood's included. Again, it's what it looks like on the Z8. It's not a very big lens. It's not weather sealed as far as I understand, and it's a very, very lightweight lens, so it really practically adds no weight to your camera. You won't even really notice it. So this is just some photos that I've made over the last couple weeks with this lens, and I've temporarily got this gallery set to be able to log in or zoom to 100% resolution. Normally I don't. You would just be set to you know, a little bit bigger than this from what you see right now. So let's go and get back, and there we go, full screen here. So this is f4. I'm just going to zoom in on a few of them here. This is f10. If you see, look down here, I've got a note on each photo. And also, if you look at you can click the little info button here, and you can see more information about the the aperture, the shutter speed, ISO. So I believe I was focused somewhere over here. And for all of these images, I believe all of them I was using AFC for autofocus and 3D tracking on the Nikon camera. So that's basically you lock it onto a subject. I think I was focused over here somewhere on the face, and continue to half press, and you can recompose and frame the picture you want, and then take the photo. And I do that even for these static photos because the focus works so well on the Z8 and also on the ZF. So just keep that in mind. Maybe normally people would just say use AFS, single focus, where it focuses once it stops, and then a single focus point, so you can be a little more precise about the focus. But these images, I didn't really need to pick out a very, very tiny subject in a larger scene, so I just used AFC with 3D tracking. So again, I'm zooming in here. Looks like the poor old clock needs to be cleaned. But the optical quality of this lens, I've been very impressed with it. For $180, I just, it's been pretty impressive to me, and I was kind of surprised by it. Obviously, some of this stuff is not in the focal plane, so it's going to look a little bit out of focus or blurry. But where it was actually in focus, I can't remember exactly where I focused in this one. I've got this one here, for example. This is f8. And I believe I focused probably on the building, and this is near the top of the frame. You see it's plenty sharp there. It does get a little bit softer, around the edges, as you would expect on a $180 lens, but to me, let's look at the shrub down here. This is really good for $180 and perfectly acceptable to me. I would just use this for my normal photos and not even not worry one bit about it, because normally my photos are not architectural where you need critical focus in. This is 2.8. I believe I was focused somewhere here up on the face, and so you just see the bokeh here as an example. But yeah, my photos are normally things like this, so I'm not worried about what's in the corner and so on. I believe in this I focused somewhere down here. I was trying to get, since I didn't have a really small aperture in this case for this photo, I tried to focus somewhere in between to get some of this tree in focus sharp and some of this tree sharp, but I believe I was right here in the middle somewhere. But as you can see, everything's plenty sharp, and I've seen no crazy aberrations, chromatic aberrations or anything like that. And I mean, I've seen more on Nikon native Z mount lenses from Nikon. Chromatic aberration, over here, the sky's a little blown out, but along the edges you don't see anything too objectionable. But yeah, something like Adobe Lightroom, chromatic aberration is really easy to get rid of with 1 or 2 clicks anyway. And again, this was, what is this? That's ISO 140, so that's pretty low ISO. There was some more editing on this, and I don't know if the sharpening that my service provider does for the website, if it's maybe a little too over sharpened, but if you see any artifacts, but it's, again, to me, when I look at the photos, everything's really clear and a lot sharper than I thought it would be for a $180 lens. And again, I believe I was focused up here somewhere in the face. But these are just, examples of photos that I actually like that I would keep anyway. They're not just, test photos I would throw away or just use for, hey, look at this photo from this lens. This here, this is a higher ISO. This is 1250. And this is a 45.7 megapixel camera, I believe is the resolution. And again, I used AFC with 3D tracking to focus somewhere in here. And it's 5.6. This is f2. So again, very sharp here and looks great to me. You can see the lichen really clear on there, but in the bark, it looks like the actual focus point was somewhere over in here. Not at the the very edge of the tree in the front or directly on the side, but it looks like I probably focused somewhere over in here. But again, if you look at there's some sample of the bokeh there at f2, So those leaves behind this tree trunk would probably be maybe 15 feet away or so, just for context. And then this stuff back here is a lot farther away. In the background, this is probably 100 feet or so, this little set of black locust trees back here. But yeah, just being able to get these right out of my Z8 and do some basic editing looks really good to me. And again, I'm pretty surprised about the quality. I believe this one was this is wide open at f1.7, so that one's not as sharp. But when you're talking about a lens that only cost $180, and then you look at or think about a camera like the Fuji X100, X100S, X100F, or whichever models had that original f2 lens, 23mm f2 lens that Fuji had. Now see, this is f4, really good. That camera, everybody raved about the quality from the X100, but everybody also knew that lens, especially shooting closer to the subject, wide open at f2, which was its maximum aperture, was pretty soft in a lot of cases. So, and that camera's obviously around $1,000 or more than $1,000, with the lens included, of course, the fixed lens. But point is, if everybody can rave about that, and that's the only lens you have on that camera, then I think you could also rave about this. I mean, it's really what comes down to is, do you have something interesting to make a photo of, and is the lens, have the basic quality that you would want? And I absolutely believe this one does. So what is the ISO 640? I believe I had to lift some shadows on here, so there may be a little bit of noise in there. But I've focused here on the carburetor, I believe. Well, they call this an updraft carburetor. So the intake comes down and goes up into the intake of the engine. It's an old 1950 something, 55 or 6 something Ford tractor. You can't kill those things; they just run and run if you take care of them, especially. This was f2. Where was I focused? Must have been focused. Well, this is obviously in the focal plane. Probably that one too. But again, now this is not chromatic aberration. This is just a point where the part of the sky is kind of getting close to being blown out, and you lose the color. And then the rest of the sky, obviously, it's darker around here, so you do still have the color. But other than, I'll show you a few pictures at the end here that do have a little lens flare. That's the only thing I've noticed about this lens that me personally, I would just kind of watch out for when I'm shooting. These chains here are pretty rusty, and so that's why you see that grittiness there. What is this? This is f2.8 and ISO 140. This is f8, and it's got a CPL filter, circular polarizer filter from B+W or BMW, however you say that. It's a German-made lens, circular polarizer filter, and this is direct sunlight. Let's go over here. This is f10, and where was I focused? Was probably focused on the building. But again, everything to me is looking really good, and again, especially for $180, I can't say that enough. To me, it's kind of like the old days where you had the so-called nifty 50 from the Canon and Nikon, where they make the 50mm f1.8 lens. But this is, what is the aperture on this? f4. So I mean, you can't shoot wide open all the time. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. You have to shoot so you have enough depth of field. Sorry for the exposure here, play in words, but you can see everything's really clear here. Here's the artist that created this statue back in, what is it, 1929? This is an art museum, so they have this sort of thing out there. This was, what is this, 1.8, and there's been some more editing on this one, but again, really sharp and clear. This guy's got a shirt on, asked me for a fun fact. That was right before the museum opened, and he was back there behind that door. I didn't really notice him there when I was taking the photo. Let's see here, 2.8. I believe I was focused over here somewhere. f2.8. And I'll show you the two examples. This is probably a better, this is f11. And of course I'm putting a link to the gallery so you can go look at these yourself. But it won't be enabled for 100% resolution. But the whole point of my galleries is not to, pixel peep yourself to death. It's just, to be able to get some ideas of what a camera lens can shoot. And plus just, to share the photos I've made because I like them and I hope everybody else likes them. It's not always, this type of subject matter is not for everybody. This is f1.7 here. But a lot of people do like it. I get about 500,000 photo views on my website per month, on average, so I appreciate everybody visiting. This is f10. I was probably focused back here somewhere on the building. So again, these little, I tell you what, I love that Art Deco style. It's a beautiful building, the old train station. This is 1.7, so this is pretty shallow. Why isn't it loading? There we go. So some of this grass is obviously out of focus, but I think this is in the focal plane. And so that's wide open. So here will come an example. Okay, lens flare. Here's one example. And I recently returned a 35mm f1.4 Nikon lens because it had a lot more flaring than this, and just some things about the lens I just didn't feel was something I liked well enough to keep for the price. It was $500 or so. I can't remember exactly how, 500 or a little bit more. But this lens again is less than $200, and that's the only flare I got with the sun right here in the frame. So if I go to this one here is the other example. I think this is the last photo I'm going to talk about. Down here in the bottom right, now this has had some editing obviously. And down here in the bottom left, if you look, you'll see a little rainbow color here in the bottom, and then right here, and the sun is up here somewhere in the top of the frame. I don't remember how far up it was, but that's really just the only examples of flaring that I've seen. It does come with that little lens hood. Maybe if it had a bigger lens hood, you might be a little better off with flaring, but really it's not bad as it is anyway. So yeah, I would definitely highly recommend this lens, especially for $180. And I know, everybody's not made of money, doesn't have a money tree growing in their backyard, and you can't just go out and pull $100 bills off of it and go pay $800 for, an 85mm lens or 85mm equivalent, or $600 or $700, or even $400 or $500. I mean, this may be really all that somebody can practically afford, and that's fine. Everybody doesn't have the money to buy those really expensive lenses. So if you need something like this, this is a really good option, I believe. I mean, it's a great option for that price. I just don't really see any downsides to this lens. I mean, a tiny bit of flaring, tiny bit of softness wide open, but otherwise it looks really good wide open. So that's really all I can say about it. I hope you visit my website and look at my photo galleries, and hope you enjoy your visit. Thank you.